Let's talk about it.
Hey,
Oh,
there we are.
hello. How are
All
you?
right. I'm good. How are you?
You know what? I'm fantastic. I'm really excited about tonight. I'm super excited.
So am I. So am I. Yeah,
Yeah.
how's it
So,
going? Jane, how are you?
how was your week, sir? How was your week?
Francine, how you doing?
I guess 2 weeks.
Busy.
2 weeks, right? Because last week we didn't do a show.
Last week we did not have a show. I had a wedding
Hi,
to go
Jen.
to. One of my
Hey,
teammates
Jane. Hey, Brenda. Hey, Mike. Hey, Fancy.
got one of my teammates got married, and I
Wow.
was there for that, and it was a great ceremony and great people, so that helps. Hey, Meg, how's it going? Brenda, how
How
are you?
amazing was that?
Yeah, it
So
was a good
amazing.
time. It was a good wedding and sweet people, and I hope everything works out as I believe it will, and that'll be great.
See,
Um,
even when you are not doing paranormal, you're doing paranormal because it was a paranormal teammate. Like, how cool is that?
hey Robin, Diana, how are you? It is funny because
Everybody.
I always tell people when they ask me, my circle of trust. My circle of trust is the size of a Cheerio.
Yes, I understand this.
Yeah, and 99.9% of them are paranormal people.
Yep.
And that's just the way it goes. But it's been interesting. How's your last couple of weeks been?
You know what? We had a great Halloween, as always. You know, we deck out and got the kids dressed and went out for Halloween, so that was really good.
Frankie,
I ended
Jane,
up coming up with a cold, so unfortunately, I
Irvin?
don't sound really great, so I apologize. But I'm fighting that. But unfortunately, our school boards in Ontario, I can't say all of them, but in my area, people are on strike, so the kids are home again.
What?
So yeah, it's not the teachers this time. It's the
Irvin?
support people in the schools, which I'm not going to pick sides. Not my place, not my monkey, not my circus. But the kids Friday the kids stayed home, and then it's until they reach a bargaining agreement as to what's going to happen. So here we sit.
It if it isn't one thing, it's another, right?
We
It,
got it.
it's crazy after crazy.
Yep.
Um, yeah, we're hanging through. We got Halloween just ended, and we're coming up on Thanksgiving, our Thanksgiving here in the U.S. And then we've got one more filming location to go through for the doc, and then the documentary will be done, and brand new year, we'll see where we go. It's just been a very busy visiting family, doing this, doing that, doing this. It's just
Hmm.
been a whirlwind. For a
Yep.
moment, Lori and I talked about, hey, we don't really do a whole lot. We haven't had a weekend off yet.
I
So,
totally
some
understand.
time
Totally.
ago, yeah, some time ago. So it's been keeping us busy. But our guest tonight,
Our
he's been busy.
guest.
He's been busy.
Yes, the man never stops. The man never stops. Everybody, I'm gonna give you a little sneak peek. I'll read it out. But Sir Brian Bowden, Brian M. Bowden is in the house. Everybody, we're pretty excited. This man is a guru for many, many things, and he's not afraid to bring up the controversial. So we're pretty excited to have him here tonight. He's a long-term friend, colleague, somebody that is very well respected in my eyes and knows what he's doing and isn't afraid to say it. So I'm going to read his bio a little bit. As a child, Brian experienced some unusual events that drove his curiosity and would later propel him into becoming the boots on the ground UFO, cryptid, and paranormal researcher and investigator. Since 1977, I'm not going to date him, he has used his spare time to explore those areas of interest, traveling the world in the pursuit of the truth. His experiences in the paranormal realm cover the gambit of the goblin universe, from encounters with Sasquatch, Dogman, and spirits to several UFO experiences. Each has been the driving force into the quest for more knowledge and ultimate answers. So really, this guy is just searching for what we're searching. That's why I love this guy so much. He knows his stuff. What do you think? Should we bring him in?
Well, yeah, I think we should. He's been a fan of the show for a while. He's been out here a lot with us and Shared a lot of information. Let's go ahead and bring him in a little earlier than I wanted to, but yeah, it's time we bring him in. Brian.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me on the show.
Sir.
Yeah, I am a
Welcome.
fan. I'm not just on, I'm a fan. I love the product. I love what you guys do. Seriously. It's actually very needed in this genre because so many people get taken by these fakes. We'll just use the term fakes. And I'm just going to say you set the record straight, and that's great.
Thank you. We try our best. We try our best.
Checks in the mail, Brian. Checks in the mail.
No. It was a freebie. It's good.
So, guys, what I'm going to tell you is, Brian's not afraid of questions. So if you have questions tonight about anything, including UFOs, cryptids, doesn't matter. Bring them up forward, and I'll bring them out here. And we'll throw them. I will
answer anything except mother's maiden name and social security number.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd leave that with this crowd. I would probably be a little more qualified in that statement than you were just now.
The let's talk about it password is vanilla tonight.
The vanilla. That's
vanilla.
Right. Mine's pineapple. Just letting you know.
Yes.
I'm not going to tell you my secret password because then it wouldn't be a secret.
Oh, stop. You can change the password anytime you want. Come on. Tammy Richardson Collins said, love the shirt, Brian.
Thank you.
Love the shirt. Carlotta, how are you? Now, we have a thing on the show. If you remember, I have a tendency to, as much as I can, say hello to everybody when they come in. It feels like romper room for the paranormal. But, we do that with, so you'll hear me say hello to people while you're talking. Sure. Just forgive me for that. That's why there's two of us. One can very eloquently speak, and the other one just does the trucker crap. I just do the executive producer trucker crap, and that's just kind of how this works.
Yep.
And it works well. Thank you, Marilyn. I appreciate you sharing the show.
Yes, thank you, guys. If you like and share, please share it. If you like it, share it, love it, share it. We want to get as much out as possible.
Yeah. So I tell you, I was asked a question by one of the fans before getting on the show. What?
I'm trying to say hi to all these people. I always feel really bad.
Okay. So I was asked a question by one of our fans on here, a friend of mine on Facebook. What it's like the question I'm sure you've never heard, and I've never heard, but it's really still kind of fun that we still get asked these questions. What was the scariest investigation you've ever done in the paranormal?
Scariest actual investigation was a day-night investigation that took place on Halloween. Full moon, meteor shower. We were like 3 miles into the wilderness of New York State at a big lake because there was high strangeness there. And we walked about 2 miles to the top of the lake, and we just sat there. There was me, my partner in crime, Al Santoriga, and a friend of ours, Bill. And when we were there, we started hearing rock knocks and tree knocks.
Oh, yeah.
And some in the distance, but they were slowly getting closer. And then we heard this footfall on the leaves. And it's kind of hard to describe, but when something's really, really big and heavy, like a bear or an elephant or a Bigfoot, you can feel it in the ground. If you've ever gone to a circus or a state fair, you can feel the ground kind of like jumble. And we were feeling that with the walks. And at one point, it started getting. I'm giving you a sum up, because it takes forever to speak. But we started getting darker, and you kind of felt like the air and the pressure, everything getting more and more intense. Kind of like when a storm's coming in the distance, you kind of smell the pressure and feel it. And at one point, we're all hanging out. We hear the rock knocks. We hear the foot knocks. It becomes pitch black. There's no place for me to run. I'm not going in this water because there was nuclear waste in it. It's pitch black everywhere you go. It's a fight or flight type of thing. And let me put you in the view. If you're looking at us, I'm all the way to the right. My buddy Al's in the middle. And to the left would be this guy, Bill. And we hear some rock knocks, tree knocks, rock knock, tree knocks, something walking in the woods. Now, they have bear there. They have big cat there. So it could have been anything. And at one point in time, there is something starts charging towards Bill's area, and Bill gets up and he runs, and Al grabs him, and I go right to Al's right side, and I have a machete. I don't have a firearm, state park, and I don't have one to begin with. And I'm ready. I'm like, okay, here it is. So your heart's pumping. We didn't want Bill to kill himself because he would have either gotten blind and knocked into a tree and died. Either way, he was, So Al's like, stand your ground, and I'm ready. We form a triangle, and nothing happened. So we look with our cameras. We have FLIR, infrared, and a few other night vision cameras. 3 million watt light on us. We shine it up after it stops. We can't find anything. We go up on this ridge, can't find anything, and we kind of settle down. The tree knocks again across the way from us, and then something out of nowhere goes whoop, whoop, and then at the other end of the lake, whoop, and it was so loud and so close, you could feel it in your chest. And if I tell you that's a depends moment, I mean it. It's a real depends moment because
Toad Brown.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's like, oh my, not that you poop yourself, but it's like, okay, we're getting real. It was so large, and Al's thinking one thing. We're all trying to figure this out. We go back to the last area we saw, which was no more than 10 feet from us. We run up this ridge. Nothing. We heard nothing move from point A to point B. And we were like, what the hell was that? It's same type of whoops you would get in the Sierra Sounds, which is Ron Moorhead, who recorded Bigfoot and Sasquatch up in the Pacific Northwest. And there was just this huge adrenaline rush and like combination of like, look, it's fear. I'm worried about cat. I'm worried about bear. This thing was right on top of us, and I kid you not, under 20 feet from where we were in the pitch black, and it was big. And so we kind of settled down a little bit, and I'm thinking about what's going on. Like, why did that just take place with us? And the next thing you know, you hear something coming through the trees behind me. I'm sitting on one of those campers where you open it up and you sit down in the camping chair, and I hear a thud hit the ground, which I felt. I feel the roll. It hits my chair and knocks me about 10 feet out of my chair. It is probably about a 200-pound rock. I'm not going to say boulder, but it was, I wasn't going to just be picking it up and throwing it. And that was it. And then as soon as that was done, everything stopped. The energy changed. You could breathe again, and you're like, whoa, that was crazy. We're looking around, and we're trying to, we're discussing as a team, like, what do you think? And I said, I think what happened was there was another Sasquatch on the other end of the river trying to come through. He was the scout, and he tried everything to get us out. And with the whoops, he said, whoop, whoop, whoop. There were 3 of us. And he was saying, there's 3 of them. Just keep going the other way. And because we didn't leave that spot, he got past it. He just like darn it, and then he threw a rock. He could have killed us at any point in time. These creatures are very, very accurate with what they do. So we hung out there. Everything kind of settled down a little bit. And then we decided, you know what, let's move to the next location. We start moving to the next location. And I packed my gear up. And I have this camera that's used for underwater scuba. But what's great about it is it's great for low light situations that you would find in the ocean. So without really manipulating an image. So you're getting a lower light feature, but no manipulation of images, which I love. And I started packing it up, and I said to myself, don't be that guy that has an experience in searching for a camera. So I put it in my breast pocket, and we start walking. And at the top of where this lake is, I believe it's in the northern part of, at the north part of the lake. So when you get to this opening and clearing, it's a beautiful night, full moon, meteors, and you can see everything. So I'm looking from the north side south, okay? That means that the west is to my right and the east is to my left. And as we're walking, I see this orange object that's, kind of like, just moving. And I'm thinking it's like, it looked like an old incandescent helicopter lamp, but there's no sound. And without missing a beat, I go, what is that? And this thing that's going like this stops and then starts heading right for us. So Al's in the front, I'm in the middle, and Bill's in the back. And I'm like, ooh, this is getting good, And we go there and we shut our headlamps off. And the next thing you know, this object is making like a buzzing, humming sound, mechanical, like electric. And it's about 10 feet above the treetops, which are about probably 20 feet up. So we're talking about no more than 30 feet from us, up in the air. It's black. It's blacker than black, and you can see a little bit of the outline. And Al's like, shut the spots off, your lights off. So we shut it off, and I'm recording on the camera. I actually have video of it. It's on our YouTube site, Bronxville Paranormal Society. And you can hear this weird sound coming from this object. It's like musical. And you hear a humming sound. And you can hear an oddity of how Bill is talking in that clip. It's not how he talks. It's almost as if he's under control of something and they're telling them, you need to do this, whatever. So at one point it hits us with a bright light. So we're like kind of behind trees, but it hits us and we're like, oh, this is really cool. And the next thing you know, it's over and done with. And we're now walking to the next location from that spot. But during that time when the light was there, Al said, time check. And I said 9:15. Okay. To get to the next location, literally 10 minutes. So we're like, whoa, that was pretty interesting. We get to the next location. We set up. We start doing some stuff. And I had a jerry-rigged Bill's camera with a little portable LCD so Al could use it while he's doing some filming. And in it, I'm seeing in my own eyes, I'm seeing these, like, I want to call them little people elementals, and they're moving from tree to tree. Now, our psychic said that we were going to have encounters with guardians of the forest, native spirits, elementals, and all these little fairies. And I'm seeing it. I'm like, did you see that? They can see it. He's recording it right now on the camera. And, it's going back and forth. So I'm like, oh, my God, we've got the greatest evidence ever. Right? You look on the camera. It tells you how much time you've been recording. And it seems like 45 minutes. But we go back. Let's go play that back. We go to play it back. The file's corrupted. Conveniently. And we're like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So I said, you know what? I got some stuff at home. Maybe I can kind of like get it out of that corruption or piece things together. I've done it before. And this is like seriously what seems like no more than a half an hour from when we had this experience. So Al goes, I'm going to call Cindy, our psychic, again. Time check. And I look at my watch, and it says it's 11:45. So we lost about an hour plus time from the UFO experience to this experience. So we call her up. She's in Arkansas. And when we were at the first site, it sounded like she couldn't talk. It was all weirded out. And she goes, what the hell's going on, guys? She's getting all these weird vibes about what's taking place. So we started to talk to her. And all of a sudden, mind you, this is midnight on Halloween. We hear people, like it sounds like a family, walking no more than 30, 40 feet from us, like they're out on a pleasure cruise in the middle of the woods and during Halloween. So we shut the phone off and we tell Bill and everybody, turn your lights on. We don't want to scare a family. And we're waiting and waiting and waiting. No one shows up. So like, whoa, that's really weird. We call Cindy back. We tell her what happened. She goes, they're not there right now. What you're experiencing is a time rip. They're going to be there tomorrow. She goes, you guys went through a time rip. And she starts talking about different things. You're going to see all these elementals. She starts hitting on what we're seeing. I'm like, yeah, we saw that. We saw that. So long story short, my first known missing time experience and the interaction with Bigfoot at that point, pretty unnerving, very unnerving, scary.
Wow.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's dial it back a little bit. Brian? Because I mean,
Sure.
that's crazy, absolutely
Yeah.
crazy. Like, how did you get started in this? What, we all have stories from the beginning. What made you decide this is for you? What made you decide to get into all of these things?
So I'm going to date myself again. I grew up watching Leonard Nimoy and In Search of.
Right.
They could have been reruns. I don't know, but it was that turtleneck and whatever. So I was always interested in science. Always interested in science for the longest time. I can't explain it why. Even when I was a little kid, before all this stuff, I used to look up in the sky when I could, because I went to summer camp, sleepaway camp. My mother worked as a teacher, and we went in Connecticut at sleepaway camp, and you could see the stars. Based from New York City, you can't see stars, Right. And I used to look up and go, for some reason, I'm like, I want to go there. That's where I should be. It's the weirdest feeling in the world, but it's like, weird. I want to go there. So I was into planets, UFOs, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster. I'm like, when I grow up, I want to go look for these things. Ogopogo, one of your own, up there. And but everything I learned was Pacific Northwest, right? And so I was planning trips growing up, like, all right, I got to go to the Pacific Northwest. I'll go into the woods there, not really comprehending the fact that there's millions of acres of land there. And it's not like, like you just walk into the woods, like, oh, there's a Bigfoot. It doesn't work that way, right? So when I was a kid and we were in my sleepaway camp one night, I wake up in the middle of the night. It's about 3 a.m. And I know when the counselors come back from watching us, or they went to town, they got pizza and beer, and they got drunk, and they came back in. They usually shut the lights off so they can go to sleep. So, sometimes you keep the back lights on so the kids don't, freak out. So I woke up having to use the facilities, and I smelled the skunky smell, which I'm used to. And it's summer camp, it's country. And where I was on the top of a double decker, and at the foot of my double decker, right by my feet, was a window that was 3 feet by 3 feet. Okay. And I'm about to get up, and I kind of sit up in bed, and there looks like somebody's looking in my window, not shadow play. So I kind of peek over a little bit, and there's a giant monkey or gorilla that's doing this, looking in, looking up. You can see the brow, you can see the bigger nose. You could see, it was a massive head, and it was still in shadow, so you didn't see everything, but it was definitely moving and one solid object. So I laid back down for a while because he was literally no more than 2 inches. If he wanted to, he could have went right through the glass, pulled me through. But after a while, after an hour, you have to go. So I slid down secretively, went to the restroom, and I kind of put that in my back of my mind because at that age, everything's in the Pacific Northwest, right? So I'm like, whatever. So I was talking with my buddy Al about something, and I said, you know what? Let me just do a quick look. And I searched in Connecticut where the camp was, and I said 1970s, 80s, Bigfoot sightings in this specific town. And wouldn't you know it, the same year I was in that bunk, the lake right next to my camp, which is called Crystal Lake. And yes, they wanted to film Friday the 13th in my camp, but the owner didn't do it. She didn't want the negative publicity. Stupid. There were 2 bipedal cryptid sightings right there at that lake, which is no more than 100 or 1,000 yards from my camp. And then on the opposite side of the mountain where my camp is, Lover's Lane, 1 sighting of a bipedal cryptid, 8 feet plus tall, hair, walking through Lover's Lane. So that's where I started. And I've always been looking up at the stars. I've always been looking at these things. So I think when you're into it and you go out and you start looking for it, you want the answers, scientifically, how do we begin? Where do we, is are ghosts real? Is there a unified connection between the ghost world, UFOs, cryptid, blah, blah, blah? And I believe there is. There's a universal connection, like the Rosetta Stone, which took me a while to figure out, but it has to do with sound, frequency, resonance, and vibration. And that is that is literally the keys to success. And if you start using sound and vibration when you go out into known areas, I guarantee you, you will have an experience after that event. You will bring in craft, you'll bring in cryptids, some of which you don't want to bring in. But yes.
Well, hey, we've got a bunch of questions I need to
Sure.
throw to you. First one is from Jeff. I heard tree knocking. I've got it on EVP at the Bergen House. Would you say it's a Bigfoot?
Depends. How close are your neighbors and do they like to drink? And I'm not kidding, because sometimes people like to play jokes on people. It very well could be. It depends on the knocking. It's anybody hitting a stick. It depends on what time of day or night, actually, it's taking place. Most of it takes place towards the end, just before, the sun sets. But it very well could be if you get a knock. I would investigate. Don't just walk up to them. I mean, it's a huge, being or entity. But you could start, you could try to do the response with a couple of knocks to test it out and just keep recording.
Okay. Next one comes from Mario. And I don't have an answer for this one. He says, so how many Canadian reports of Sasquatch do you guys hear about? Being in Ontario, I often wonder where the border lies between our human cities and our other communities.
Actually, I was asked this question a couple of times. I investigate reports globally, and there have been a couple of reports, and please forgive me, there was a couple of logging areas in Ontario, and this is recent, and I'm saying within the last 2 years, active Bigfoot activity, because what they're doing is they're going into a new section and to log, and that's their home. And there's been reports of the machinery being hit with boulders, rocks, I mean, big pieces of tree. A lot of the loggers have been scared off, and it's been very hard to continue the logging process there. Huge footprints, roughly, anywhere from 16 inches on up. I actually have a big footprint that we got in New York State. It's 17 and a half inches long. And it was a step off of a 6-foot cliff, like ledge. So this thing took one step on that, and then its stride went right to the water. And it was ginormous. So yes, there are a lot of reports out of Canada, and it's not just Ontario, it's all over Canada. Especially again, you get the Pacific Northwest, British Columbia, up in that woods, and also if you're out by the St. Andrews, is it St. John or St. John's? It's one of the two. One's in the Caribbean and one's up there. It's over in those areas. You definitely have a lot of reports, and they don't have passports, so they'll just go right over the border over into the different states. But yeah, it's the same Bigfoot, Sasquatch that are in the States as well.
All right, Stephanie. How's it going? All right, so Jeremy, buddy of mine, says, lots of UFO sightings lately. Something going on? Or just lots more people with cameras, a.k.a. phone cameras?
Oh, well, no, I think it's not. Well, I don't think it's the cameras. It's very interesting. Ever since everybody has one of these phones with them, has audio, video, and everything, there haven't been that many sightings captured. But what's going on globally between the politics around the nations and also the earth changes, weather patterns changes, earthquakes, volcanoes opening up, literally what's happening on the planet, if you look into it, the axis is changing. So you can ask the Eskimos or the Inuit, and they'll tell you that it's wrong. A lot of people will tell you it's wrong. So these beings that come here are very interested in what's taking place, and they come to visit. It's kind of like space tourism. There's always a report that someone says that when the UFOs fly past Earth, they put the locks down on the craft. Lock it up. My dad, yeah. But yeah, that's basically it. It's very rare to capture a UFO, an extraterrestrial based UFO, non-human or non-terrestrial. because we do have craft. In the U.S., there is definitely craft. One of them is the TR-3B. It's a triangle. It's a pretty cool craft. Zero gravity. It moves, and a lot of times it's flown to perpetuate a UFO alien narrative and just keep people away from the subject. But they know what they're doing. Yes.
Okay.
So do you think that there's more conspiracy? Do you think that it's more of us in the skies trying to create the conspiracy, or confuse us as human beings, or what's your opinion on it?
So what has happened is when these craft have crashed up until a certain point, we still do it. The U.S. has been the first one on the grounds getting all these craft because we've been reverse engineering it. Yes, there is something, a treaty that was supposedly signed between Eisenhower and alien race they're going to give us technology, and we allow them to abduct certain individuals to continue what they're doing. And what they are doing is they're trying to take their race of entities, and there are multiple, there's well over 200 plus different types of aliens. They've destroyed those are the last ones that are around. They've destroyed the planet, their genes, everything. So they're trying to repopulate their race, and they're using what we have the best, human DNA, because of certain junk DNA we have in there as well. And after a couple of hybrids, human, alien, human, you start to weed out beings, and you get basically that race again, and it starts to continue. So they're here. It's not really a conspiracy. It's a fact. And when you're talking about governments doing things, I've said it before, if I was the president, the person in charge, because of what's going on in the world today, I would never reveal that we have the technology that we have. But from my research and from fellow other researchers that I respect in this field that are really good, we have our technologies about 150 years ahead of anybody else on this planet. And that's still not good enough for what they have.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, Nadine said, have you ever heard of the Bridgewater Triangle near Taunton, Massachusetts, which tells of UFOs, Thunderbirds, poltergeist orbs, balls of light?
Yes. Bridgewater Triangle in the Massachusetts area. It's one of those known anomalies or locations around the planet that is a hot spot. And it's because of ley lines coming into it and elements within the ground and the material, and possibly portals on these ley lines and hotspots, that all these activity converges. You see, you're dealing with, when you get into this paranormal, and when I'm speaking of this, I'm not only speaking of cryptids like Bigfoot or a dog man or aliens, I'm talking about ghosts as well, or entities. You get into a spot where beings are coming here or going through portals, and either going through space-time portals like outside in space. They're interdimensional beings that exist, and there are also inner Earth beings that exist that have to travel from point A to point B. So what these become in essence is a hub. So it's kind of like going to Grand Central Station. And all these beings are pulling in and out and going in and out, and things take place there. Some people are very much aware of what's going on activity-wise, and they take advantage of it. There's good people and bad people. There are good people that are investigating it or trying to figure out what's going on. There are bad people doing a lot of devil worshiping there or satanic worshiping. A lot of murders in those areas. Sacrifices, not good. And of course, you're going to see, if you see lights in the sky, you're seeing craft. And also there's, from my last experience with Bigfoot, I changed from being a flesh and blood creature like Gigantopithecus related to interdimensional, because there's no way you can go from point A to point B, which is about 2 miles with that. I mean, in a second. The only way you can do it is if you open a portal, go through, and you can come back out the other side. So Bigfoot is interdimensional.
Here's the thing.
Sure.
I had an all-out debate with a guy one time.
Right.
About Bigfoot, cryptid, skunk ape, whatever you want to call it, all right? Whatever you
Yes.
want to have out there. And these people are pounding me, flesh and blood. Flesh and blood. I said, no, it's not. It can't be. What's funny is when you, and I had to actually explain this to them, when you look at the map of sightings, the majority follow the ley lines of the coast.
Yep.
And the ley lines are the energy source. And again, this guy debated me. I said, it's an energy being. It's not flesh and blood.
Okay, so I'm going to give you an example, and I use this all the time to explain it. I believe that when they are here, they go from interdimensional to physical, like flesh and blood. They are flesh and blood. And they can be killed, they can be hurt, they can be wounded. However, they have an innate ability to change their energy. And there's a lot of sightings of lights in association with Bigfoot. They always say it's UFOs. No, it's not. If you study physics or you know about energy, when you convert energy from one source to another, there's a reaction that always takes place, a spark, some kind of energy release. This is what you're seeing when they change into forms. They can go interdimensional. This is why when you get paths where you're walking along a lake and you see this in the middle of the lake on snow and then all of a sudden disappears and it's gone, they went interdimensional and they can go into this. Now, I don't have a Bigfoot and I don't know anybody in the public that has one of these things where I can validate it with experimentation. I believe the governments do, and that's why they're intrigued by them. It's a military operation. You want that kind of technology. But that is the only explanation. And this is why I believe the aliens that come here interdimensional, they go through all these portals. Everybody knows everybody. I used to travel to Grand Central Station from my neck of the woods in the Bronx. And I didn't know the people getting on the train to go into Connecticut, but I've seen the same people over and over again. You know, and you just kind of get used to it. Like, hey, Bob, how's it going? Hey, Joe. You know, this is what happens. It becomes a galactic or an interdimensional highway. But I think these are physical beings that can go interdimensional. And I'll explain it this way. If you did not know what an octopus was, right? And you saw an octopus, which could change its shape, its color, its texture, in an instant, you'd think that was some kind of magical creature, right? Same thing, Bigfoot does this the same way. I think the Dogman does it as well. They have the ability to do it. So, and I think they use a larger portion of their brain. That's what helps them to do this. I think we all have the capability, but we're so dumbed out about, look on Facebook, look what happened. You know, you're not using your brain, you know?
Yeah. And I hear you. I just, as a guy who has a tough time with it, I'm just being directly honest. I've never seen, I'm one of those people that like, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm from Missouri, right? I'm not from Missouri, I'm from New York, but I'm from Missouri. So for me, it always has been, I don't see a skeleton. I've never seen skin.
Right.
I mean, and then but people will then turn around and they'll go, well, you know, it's the same thing with spirits. Oh, no. I actually have video of an apparition literally appearing right in front of me and disappearing. I've got EVPs of people who weren't there. But it's just, to me, I want to believe in it really wholeheartedly. I just believe that different energy beings. That's the only reason why I say that. Because we have nothing physically to say, okay, so here's what it looks like.
Right. So
I'm not trying to stir the pot, my brother.
No.
Say,
and you know what? This is a valid. There's no stirring the pot here. I agree with you. If you haven't had the experience and you think that everything like tree bends, it's just the trees bending. Let me tell you, I understand your perspective because I've been there. But when you see things happen, when you see these things bending, literally taking like 30-foot, trees and bending them or ripping them out of the ground, it becomes plausible.
I would love to see that.
I would love to, there are certain locations, we could take you to. I'm actually going to be going on a skunk ape expedition, Class A, soon. I'll probably be killed because everything in Florida kills you. But no. But It's been nice knowing everybody, but I understand your point. But what makes a physical print? Something has to be physically here, and the state of matter. See, what's going to happen is if you study things quantitatively, and as quantitative science really blossoms.
Careful with the big words. Careful with the big words.
Well,
From
quantitative
I had
science.
education. Take it easy.
They will explain things to you, and I will go so far to say that eventually you'll be able to, and not that far from now. I'm talking within a decade. You'll be able to build a filter or create a digital filter that encompasses certain, calculations quantitatively. That you'll go to your old video, all your old investigations, Katie's investigation, your investigation, my investigations, and you'll turn it on. And you're like, oh my God, they were standing right next to me.
I can't wait. Can't wait.
It's going to happen. That's what we say to everybody.
It's going to be on the Galaxy S3500. That's what it'll be. Yeah.
We live in this time. Most people are resonating at this frequency right here, but like Katie and Richard, I do it sometimes. You can tweak that frequency when you want to. When you're not being a parent or you're not have other things, and it still happens then, you can go, instead of going to 99.1, you're like 107. You're like, listen, I got to deal with my kid first. I'll be back. Keep that, you can tune in and you can see things around you. It's just like a radio. And so I will guarantee I will take both of you to any, unknown locations where we've had interaction experiences.
I'm in.
And you're a plus. They love the female. There's there'll be a group there, but they really enjoy when you bring. I was just having this conversation with another Bigfoot researcher who brings his wife, and they like it when she comes. I don't know, because women smell good and they're pretty, and there's not that much of a difference between the human and what these Sasquatch are. They're like, oh, she's good looking, It's known. They do it all the time.
Don't do that again. Don't ever do that again, Brian. Come on. All right, let's get back to a couple more questions here. Jane said, do you believe that Bigfoots are extraterrestrial? I think we kind of covered that a little bit.
There is a race of extraterrestrials that do look like Bigfoot. And they're short ones and tall ones. But Bigfoot, I don't believe, is an extraterrestrial.
Okay. Now, Lorianne says, do you think that Bigfoot has the ability to travel interdimensionally and to manipulate the veils between a camouflage and when cornered? So, in other words, they camouflage themselves in a corner. So they have the ability to do that.
Yes, they do have the ability to do that. That comes when they can convert from physical into interdimensional. There's a spot in between that where they become kind of distorted. They know how to, they can sneak up on people very easily. There's a guy named Jay Bachochin. He's out of, where's the dogman from? The Beast of Bay Road, Wisconsin, I believe it is. And he has a movie he put out, Finding Jay. And there's one scene where they hear the knocks, and there's a tree branch in the background, and they're filming, and I'm watching everything, and the tree branch kind of tilts a little bit. So I contacted Jay. I said, Jay, the one you are looking for is right on that branch. And it was a big enough branch, but it did bend and bow, which it shouldn't have. I believe they can go into become invisible or use some kind of camouflage and manipulate the visual spectrum. Also energy.
Yeah, right. All right, so then Mario says, what if the alien craft are monitoring these Sasquatch also?
100% they are. They're abducting them as well. Aliens are just curious about everything. They will take samples from everybody. So they want to know what's going on. Why are they coming into the dimension? How can they do it? And yes, they are abducting them, and they are doing experimentation. I do not believe, and I've heard this new, Bigfoot is the alien pets. No, they're not. They're just, luck of the draw. We're going to take this guy tonight, and they do the same experimentation.
All right, here's another one I love field here. Jeff says, what is happening in Skinwalker Ranch? Is it a cover-up, or Skinwalkers, cryptids, UFOs, and portals really there? Is it all hype? No, it's not hype, but go ahead and explain it.
No, Skinwalker Ranch is a very interesting place, and I think it has to do more so with portals and interdimensional portals. You got two things going on there. It's a sacred location. The curse between the Navajo and the I forgot the other tribe, where they put the curse on them about the skinwalkers. Skinwalkers are real, okay? It's a legitimate being, entity. It's not a nice way to become a skinwalker. You have to do most god-awful thing on the planet to get that, and I don't recommend it for anybody. But what's going on at that location, between the elements in the ground and we're talking about over billions of years with this planet being hit by meteors that have certain elements in it, it becomes like a magnet for everybody to come through. And I think that's what's going on at Skinwalker Ranch. And that includes interdimensional beings coming in there, what they would call the Dogman, which is, it sounds all cute and fuzzy, but it's not. Think of the werewolf in Van Helsing. That's what they are. And of course, UFOs are attracted to the area if it's a portal. They're coming in and out of it to go, do what they need to do.
Okay. Now, Jeremy says he's got a question for all of us, including our guests. Rich and Katie, do medium psychic empaths feel, or can they feel UFO energy, Bigfoot? Can they see these energies? For me, I'll go first. To me, energy is able to be read as energy. It's energy. You can feel whether it's heavy, light. You can feel if it's aggressive, non-aggressive. You can kind of get a sense from what you're reading what type of being you're dealing with. So I would say, yeah, not that I've come across, not that I can verify I've come across any Bigfoot energy whatsoever, but yeah, I know I can differentiate between the energies that I come across and be able to give you an idea. I had it just for a quick sample. I was asked to the location that we were filming at a few years back. Before we got to the location, a guy quizzed me. He said, "So tell me who's buried over here at this location." I'm like, okay, here we go. And I looked at him and I said, 2 humans and a dog. And he looked at me and says, "How the hell did you know that?" The energy's different. The energy's different. And you can feel it. And, it's palpable. You can feel it. So people just, they freak and that kind of stuff, but you can feel the energy. What do you think about that, Katie?
Absolutely. I look at energy like a bookstore. Some of it is romance, some of it is drama, but it's all books and it's all chapters of things. And when you depending on what section you want to read is what you're going to tap into. I've had paranormal experiences, obviously. I've had UFO experiences. I've had Bigfoot experiences. And in every type of experience that I've had, my physical senses started to kind of flash on and off, whether you're getting goosebumps, changes in temperature, the heavy feeling sick, dizzy, all of those things that were occurring. And then my psychic senses kind of tapped in, and that's when I could fine tune it. So I do think it's all correlated, as Brian had mentioned at the beginning of the episode. It's all about energy and it's all about frequency. And so if you're tapping into that vibration, exactly, you're going to be getting into that stuff. I would have to say that certain types of energy intimidate me more than others. I'm more comfortable in the paranormal field. Quite frankly, walking into an abandoned location, I would be more afraid of the humans there than the spirits. Once I find out that it's something paranormal, like, oh, thank God, it's just a ghost. The UFO thing, I'm going to tell you straight up, it intimidates me. That is something that I have not yet understood, and it's something that does frighten me. So I don't know what to think about that. I don't know if myself kind of putting a wall up and saying not interested. I'm very interested, but from a spectator perspective, not somebody, wanting to get beamed up. Just putting that out there. I like it from a distance.
Yep. Well, I didn't plan on getting beamed up, but I got it a couple of times. The problem with the UFO, that type of end of the whole thing, I'm fine. Well, I don't really want to be abducted. And if they do, little liposuction here, fix this,
right.
But they don't do that. They just take you. You can just lift them up over here. But the last one that I remember missing time was driving from New York to Florida, and they took me, my wife, and my 2 daughters, and that's where I have the problem. Leave my kids out of it. Your spouse or whoever you're with, they can handle themselves. So they're adults. You leave the kids out of it. But on a scientific point, they got to see the different lines and generations. And
Right.
yeah, so it's a strange thing. Also with Bigfoot, when you get into an area that has Bigfoot activity, they know you're there before you know they're there. And depending on how you present yourself, your energy, your vibration, frequency, is whether they're going to allow you to have an interaction or not.
Right. And
Yeah.
they do decide that. I mean, they decide that the minute you step on the property. And we
Yeah.
talked about this on the show several times. If your energy on your team isn't right, good luck.
Mhm.
It's going to be a long, boring night.
That's why
Yeah.
we have Well, that's why we always have a psychic read everybody's going out to see if they're okay to go out, because it's a safety concern for you guys too. I know
Yeah.
it's for us. And if you have somebody that's going to get jumped, or they're having a bad day, they had a fight with their spouse, or someone's recovering from a cold, don't go out with us.
Yeah.
Do not go out with us. Your
Yeah.
energy's down. Yeah.
My question for my team always is, we always break bread. We have a meal together before we go in. And the question I always ask is everybody good?
Yep.
Is everybody
You
good?
got to. You have
And,
to.
yeah, because it'll take it. If somebody's off, it'll take advantage of them. And they
100%.
become the weak link in the armor and chain, and that's the first place they get targeted.
Yep.
We're going to go back to questions because, man, we
Sure.
got a bunch. We got a bunch of questions. All right, so Herbie's asking this one. He asked me this earlier. I never got a chance to answer it. I'd like to know if you believe that a majority of urban legends, example, Jersey Devil, Wendigo, are actually people that saw Bigfoot or other such cryptids.
No. Wendigos are real. They're legitimate. And they are a really nasty being you do not want to call. It's a spirit or an entity from an interdimensional portion hooked up to native folklore. They're real. As far as the Jersey Devil, it's funny. I did a show, Into the Unknown, and I've always had the theory about it, but they didn't want to hear it. They wanted to stay to script. So I believe that what people are seeing in relationship to the Mothman, the Jersey Devil, Ram, the Goat Man, there's so many different ones. I think what you're seeing is a mutated version of either a Sasquatch, Bigfoot, or a Dogman. And I think there is a connection to both those species. It's not exclusive. It's just like human beings. So we have different types of human beings down there. Different types of, like, some have more Asian in them, some have more Nordic in them, some have more, whatever, Philippine, whatever it is. And I think what happens is some of these defects come out and they are actually alienated from their group.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Like, you go out of here, you're a freak. I'm like, you're all Bigfoot. It's like, yeah, but you got horns in your head. And what happens is people see these things. Now, there's something also interesting. Currently, right now, in Chicago, there have been numerous sightings of flying humanoids that have very much look like the Mothman. But I don't believe they are Mothmen. There's another research says they're ultra-terrestrials or whatever. I don't believe that either. I think what they are interdimensional beings from other timelines. And due to the cracks in our timelines conducted by the first collider, which was in Chicago area, Illinois, if you really pay attention to it, in the 80s, late 90s, early 2000s, that's when the Mandela effect happened. I think what they did is they split the timelines when it rejoined, wasn't perfect, and these beings are like, what's that crack over there? And they're going through. And they're now crossing into our timeline freely. So I think those are actual beings, but I haven't been to Chicago to find out.
Excuse me.
We got more questions than we have time, man. It just came out of
Sure.
nowhere.
Great. I'm loving this.
Lori Ann said, are entities such as the Dogman a terrestrial experiment placed on Earth?
I don't believe they're an experiment. I believe these beings are their own species. They have been here for millennium. Long before humans got here, they were here. There's always that, humans always have to put some kind of human touch on everything. Like, we created them. Nah, I don't think we did at all. But again, like I said, from my research, this is what I've come up with. This is my, where I've gotten to. I can get into give me a Q clearance, and I can get to see some like, okay, so you are creating them. I don't think we have that kind of technology to do that. And these things are not tame. The Dogman itself. I mean, it's a nasty, nasty thing, and it's smart and it's wicked. I do believe the Dogman, what most people reference, is what gave light to Anubis in Egypt. I think it's the same being, just millennium away. Because they were that powerful. Very revered, but it's funny. The younger Dogman, the younger werewolves, whatever, without changing, they don't change. They are what they are really like the tough ones. The Turks, the elders, are more collected. Like, come here, the leaders of the pack. And I think Anubis is one of those, and realize I have control over all these, and I can take these spirits whenever I want. People. Yeah. Yes.
All right. So Nadine has asked questions. She made a statement first. I also have a hard time believing in Bigfoot. It's not for the lack of wanting to. I haven't seen anything convincing enough for me. Is there a specific place or person to reach out to that would help a skeptic like me to truly learn more and have experiences?
There's no there's places you can go that will make the odds better in your favor. There's a lot of places in the Chestnut Ridge of Pennsylvania, the Pacific Northwest, Washington State, British Columbia. Like I said before, there are the logging areas of Ontario, Maine. You can go there, and here's the thing. If you're going there just to I want to see one. We have a protocol I developed called an active intelligent encounter, and that's where you free your mind of all the BS of the world. You start meditating, and you send that vibe out into the earth. Listen, I just want to have an interaction with you. I don't want you to hurt me. I don't want to hurt you. Just can we have an interaction? Prior to you going and stepping into the woods, you sit in the car, put it out there, and unfortunately, I know you want to see these things, but it's not up to you to see them. It's up to them to let you see them.
Same thing with paranormal and spirits.
100%.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, so now Mario jumps in. He says, so to add to Jeremy's question, would you theorize that some of these crafts are powered by spirit as opposed to neurological communications on a biological level?
Wow, that's a really intense,
I haven't had my coffee for that one.
No,
I'm just saying.
there are some beings that don't need crafts because they actually use their essence, their spirit. They vibrate at such a high frequency. They can travel anywhere. They live for a long, long time. But majority of these beings do have craft. Their technology is light years ahead of anything Earth has had. I will tell you straight up, I am not a proponent of the Galactic Federation, where you have all these aliens sitting around a table deciding what to do with Earth, and they can't even figure out if they want Chinese or pizza for lunch. I do not believe that.
Chinese.
From what has taken place and from people I've interviewed eyewitness-wise, each of these races has a specific mission in mind. Some are very aggressive. Others aren't. Some are so aggressive because they're so intelligent and powerful, they consider humans to be ants. But they need the DNA, so they have to do certain things with it. But I believe there's powered craft that come from different star systems. Draco, Andromeda, Venus, there's a variety of them. And they're all here on different missions to explore. And some are not necessarily, we have to save the humans. The only reason why they were saving the humans or protecting us is because they need the DNA. Yeah. That's what they need. So they're just really looking out for their best interest. But as far as spirit-powered crafts, I don't know.
So do you think that there's a link between after death and in the interdimensional travel?
I think what happens when you leave the physical shell and you go into I'll call it the ether. I think God does exist. There is an all-knowing whatever. And what happens is you get your consciousness, which is part of your soul, and you get to tap back into the everything. Like I
Universal
said,
consciousness.
yeah, it's a universal thing. Everybody knows everything, and you can see everything happening at once. Now, technically, because time is an Earth-based construct, it doesn't exist anyplace else whatsoever. We're very arrogant as humans. We think we're the best. We're not even on the scale of being the best, but time exists only on Earth. But when you get to a consciousness level, you can see past, present, and future, and it's all happening at one time. This is why, the theory is the Einstein-Rosen, you could travel the speed of light and it takes you 15 minutes, but when you get back, I'm going to be 80 years old. No, because what you're doing is to circumvent that issue. You're able to jump from timeline and come back to the same timeline that when you left it. It's very complex. It's not just this one ball of information, multiple timelines, multiple universes at the same time, all working in conjunction.
I don't know, but this conversation is caramelizing my onion because it's going in directions I don't know if I have enough coffee to do today. So Tosh says, "What are your thoughts on lizard people?"
I think you're talking reptilian people or lizard-based people that look like, they're very aggressive. There are a variety of different lizard people. They're called reptilians. They look like dinosaurs. If you saw in the Land of the Lost or whatever, this big giant dinosaur-looking thing like Sleestak, it's very similar to that. They're very aggressive. They're very warring. They are the ones, and we're talking, they can manipulate their body and change. So they can literally make themselves look like humans if they so choose. They hate it. Transforming, but their mission here is to basically take over the planet. However, there are other races that are based off the lizard or reptilian beings that aren't as aggressive and are not allowing the aggressive ones to do what they want to do, because it's kind of like we have like 5 sandwiches left. You can't eat all 5. We all need them, and we're going to keep you at bay. So that's what the lizard people, they're real.
So here's my question then. We hear all these conspiracy theories of, certain celebrities and big people in the world. I won't mention names, as to they're these reptilian people and they've morphed. And what are your thoughts on that?
100%. I didn't believe it initially. It's kind of, I need a little bit of proof. I mean, my belief system goes to a certain point, but then I want some proof. That's the science side of me. I was watching, this was out of the blue recent. I was watching a video, and he was former president of the United States. And the video had like this bugginess to it for a split second, and the man's eyes changed. Like literally went from normal eyes, what you would see here, to like that slit, like a reptilian.
Yeah.
And I just happened to have a DVR, and I'm like, wait a minute. And I went back and I watched it, and then I watched it on slow-mo, and it did it. So I do believe that these beings, because again, they want control over everything, and they will interfere with lives. So yes, I do believe that they can do that, and they are here, and they are in certain seats of power throughout the world. 100%. We had a person that we knew. She lived in upstate New York, and she talked about, she had an issue with her child came to her. Her child comes to her when she's about 3 years old and says, you're not my real mommy, but I still love you anyway, which is kind of hard to hear when you're a mother or a father, like, oh, okay. And she goes, well, who's your real parent? Well, my real parents. And he was drawing them. He gets taken every so many nights, and he gets introduced to his real parents, and they're reptilian. He goes, I'm really reptilian. Now, this is a child that had and the woman even said, he goes, we don't watch anything. There's nothing in school. None of that. It is a controlled environment.
She birthed that child, though? She birthed it?
She said she birthed it. But the problem with this is there are numerous people that have been pregnant and lost the baby. It just, and they had a miscarriage or whatever, or they feel like they're pregnant, like, oh God, I feel like I'm, I don't know what that feels like. I'm just a big boy, you know. I've had tacos, you know, so like, ooh, you know, but on the other end, you could like, oh, I don't feel good, and then the next thing you know, you may not even know you're pregnant because it could happen. Their technology is so advanced; they can take your child within a month, put it in a bio, kind of an incubator, and gestate that child to birth, and they could put something back in there to make it act as if you were having an issue. So yeah, no. This has happened before. This is no different than some of the kids that said, I died over there. I'm like, what? You know, and they tell you that they died, or, you know, they show you the scar. And if you look in x-rays, you actually can see a scar. And that's a soul that comes back. It's really bizarre. Thankfully, none of my kids have told me they were aliens, which was great. But who knows?
Yeah. All right, so Don said, I would love your information and talk to you sometime. I'm going to tell you what, Don, hold tight. In about 20 minutes, he's going to spew his guts out with how you can get a hold of him and everything else. So hold tight, Don, but you got to watch to the end of the show. That's the trick. All right, so I have Jane that said, I heard it suggested that the rake was born of human suggestion. I've heard that too.
Yeah, you know, so did I. And tulpas, right? That's where you actually put the energy out there and it manifests. And initially, I didn't believe in any of that stuff, and I believe it's real. I haven't seen a rake. My partner has. He's seen what described as a rake, and we're kind of logical people. We don't want to go through back. And I'm sure my partner's in this room right now, harassing people. You know, Al, like, be good, Al. But he's seen some things. But I do believe that your thought is a weapon. Be careful how you think and what you think, even with especially what you say, because I believe that the ability to create these things is real. And it may not be an actual rake. You may be getting to a race of beings called the jinn. And the jinn are known to transform into the worst nightmares of you because they hate you as human beings and they want you off this planet. So I think it's a combination of both. But do you remember Rosemary Ellen Guiley? She was a great researcher. One of my most respected people in the field. She passed away a couple of years ago. She wrote a book about the jinn, and she autographed the book. Be careful what you wish for. It's the truth. Be careful what you say. If you remain more positive, you say things positive, I guarantee you positive is going to come back to you.
Right.
A little bit of that karma thing, but that's how the universe works. You know,
well,
but
you know,
I believe it.
People that wonder that kind of stuff as well, but if you think about it, born a suggestion. How do you think poltergeists are formed?
Say that, which one? Poltergeist?
Poltergeists. Poltergeists are made by the living.
Yeah.
I mean, all you're doing is you cram enough energy down. Cram it. It's going to
15-year-old daughter. Yeah, you cram enough energy down a 15-year-old daughter. Yeah. Well, this is why. Come on, you guys know this. You know that when you go on investigation, a lot of paranormal activity, telekinetic type of stuff and movements of dishes, and we don't know exactly what this brain does. And for some reason, the female end of it, which uses both hemispheres, especially when it's going through that change between a child into an adult, forget it. It's evil. It's pure evil. That one thing you're like, oh, look how cute she is. And then I remember saying that, and one of my friends goes, wait till she's 16. You know, like, I hate you. But this is what they can do. They can move things. They can make these things happen. So it's really weird.
Now, Herbie says, has there ever been a spirit that has been mistaken for a cryptid like Bigfoot?
Well, the native people considered Bigfoot a spirit of the forest or the woods because of the abilities. Yeah, a guardian, a spirit or guardian or whatever it is. So yes, it has been. Well, I don't know if it would be mistaken, but this is how they've interacted with it. Now, it's not always positive. There was an issue between a tribe, I forgot where it was, where what happens is if you have Bigfoot in one area, you're going to have dogmen. And what happens is they usually have some kind of something in the middle that says, you stay on your side, we'll stay on my side. But the dogmen like to start shit. Pardon the expression. Sorry. So what was happening is the dogmen were kidnapping or killing some of the native tribesmen. And for whatever reason, eating, consuming, whatever they wanted to do with it. And the natives got kind of pissed off. So what they did was they concocted a plan on how they can stop these creatures from continue doing it, but they needed help. So they concocted something where they killed another Bigfoot, but they made it look like a dogman did it. And then that set the Bigfoot off. And there was and they never had a problem with it ever again. So it's like, it's your classic movie story, but this happens to be two cryptids and an Indian tribe.
Predator,
yeah.
Kind of Alien versus Predator. Yeah.
Yes. Come on, get to the chopper, Richard.
Get to the chopper. All right. So Lori says, do you believe that humans can have non-human or alien attachments that interfere adversely in one
question, Lori? Good
yes.
Question.
I 100%. Yep. He's proud. Look at that. Look how proud he is. That's mine. Yes, I do believe that is possible. And they can come at will. And I'll give you an example that there's somebody right here in the room was that I was having a conversation with a third party. His name is Justin. And that person is in the middle of the screen right now. And at one point, I kind of had a feeling something was, weird. But where I was videotaping in this conversation, I'm 7 stories up in the Bronx. I have a foot behind me before you hit a window and you go down. There's nothing behind me. And Katie was like, she was looking. And so we were talking and I'm just sitting there or whatever. Because I kind of had an impression in my mind. And that's what I'm saying. They can disappear and they can attach and they can go through. The thing was over and I said, okay, what the hell did you see? She goes, oh my God, did you see that? I'm like, yes. And she saw an alien just pop out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And I searched for her. I said, was it this? She goes, holy crap, that was the one. I'm like, yeah. This is what they do. They can pop into you. It's an easier way to get you to go to a spot where they can actually physically take you. So what better way is to possess something if you want to take them or partake knowledge, put knowledge into them and have them spit it out. I am not I'm not a channeler fan. So I'm sorry, folks. I am not a channeler fan.
We're not talking about friends.
I have to get a little more research on that.
the one being that I've come in contact with, he's been annoying. He was annoying, but I love his background. I love his pedigree. It was a creature called the boggart. Feylaw. Feylord creatures are incredible, I think. I think the wild as all get out. He looked like a monkey with a tail and pointed ears. It was really cool. And he was in this one particular building called the Red Hotel. And he would hang out on the second, third floor, and he would screw with you, just to screw with you. Yeah. They were normally known as being house elves or house servants. And they couldn't tell you their name because if they did, you then owned them.
Yep.
And it was the wildest thing I've ever experienced. So for me, it wasn't so much alien, but it was something from another country. I mean, it's a big UK belief in the Feylord. They don't have any problem with Feylord in the UK. No. And so yeah, the boggart it was like I caught him on camera. I've seen him myself. Guests I've had on tours there have seen him. And all the descriptions, without being told to anyone else, are exactly the same. Weird looking little creature, but not human.
I mean, there's creatures that actually I forgot the name of the actual race, but there's creatures that look like elves, and they look like they have the pointed ears and they have that weirder skin, and they are small, and they're aliens, and they appear because they can do things that we can't do. So you think you're looking at an elf, but it's really an alien. You know.
Yeah, it's
So-
it's really crazy. I
Let me ask
enjoyed
you
it,
this.
but it was crazy.
Let me ask you this. Why do you think that they stay quiet? Why do you think they've all as a collective have said we want to stay secret? Why has not one of those species said, look, why don't we just introduce ourselves? What is it, do you think, that keeps them
Allows them
from
to observe us.
I
It-
think, yeah. Well, I think we're not the nicest beings in the galaxy. We will shoot first, then ask questions later. I mean,
Maybe
I'm being
not in
serious about that.
Canada?
Not in Canada. They're not allowed to have handguns anymore either.
You had a skinwalker on a Greyhound bus that cut the head off of the person who was sitting next to was eating it. Okay. Canada, come to
Yeah.
Canada. Eh?
Yeah, they all need to move to Canada. They all just need to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like
You
it's
try that crap on the Long Island Railroad in the heart of New York City. Yeah, go ahead. Good luck with that. Yeah.
you can better off manipulate people by offering some things in exchange for something where you don't have to reveal yourself. So if you minimize the population that knows who you are, then you come and go like the wind.
And they're easier to observe you. It makes it easier for them to continue to observe you without any interference. If you don't know they're there,
Right.
you know who they are.
So do you think that
everywhere.
there's a lot of speculation about certain television shows? You know, I'll say Star Trek, and you know, there's certain cartoons, I won't name names, that have predicted certain events. You know, in a conspiracy manner. What do you think of that? Do you think that that's Kaif, or do you think it's real?
I know what you're talking about, and specifically with Gene Roddenberry, he was interviewed at one point, and I think part of the whole Star Trek thing was something based on dreams, and you know, like this notion that popped in his head, and it just started to write itself and evolve. And I'm thoroughly convinced Roddenberry had interactions or abductions with aliens that implanted this information, and they used this to desensitize human beings to the fact that this is going to take place. They do this in other ways too. What's better way to get information out that you can't publicly do than to sneak it into Krusty the Clown video, or you know, or something else? There's a lot of talk that Groening, the creator of that show, is a time traveler, but who's to say they're wrong? He probably is. I mean, you can't. The odds of you being that accurate are astronomical. So something's going on here, and the best way to start feeding the masses is under the radar. That's how you get to them. That's why, like, when people have abductions, what happens is it's a frightening experience. It's not pleasant, but multiple abductions, as you kind of get a little bit more relaxed with it and accept like what's going on, they know when you're able to understand more. And then what they'll do is they'll show you more information. They'll talk to you and teach you, this is what's happening on your planet. This is what you have to do now. And then they come back and they're able to discuss and tell you things. But some people that can't handle it, they're not going to say, you know, by the way, we're about 500 million years old and, you know, we can fly it. Certain people can't handle that, you know. It's so they have to wait until people are able to, you know, comprehend it.
I have Tosh had asked me a direct question. I feel special. He said, Richard, question for you. I have a local cemetery and a lot of family buried there. I keep getting EVPs of young boys saying hey or hi. It's never been aggressive. Could it actually be a child trying to communicate, or do you think it could be demonic? Wow, that's actually a pretty wide open door. That could be one of both. You could be dealing with one or the other. I would tell you, if you have EVPs and you would like me to listen to them and give you my take based on what evidence you captured, I will. You can just send it to thehauntedtravelers@gmail.com. That's our email address. And I'm more than happy to review it for you. But there are certain distinctions that take what is simply an earthbound spirit's voice and is actually a demonic or hugely negative spirit. There's a big difference in the evidence captured. it kind of just kind of give you a quick example. For me, in my experience, because I'm an EVP nut, it goes way too far to prove a point. That's when you know it's not real. When you have something that's willing, like almost scream at you, or the voice sounds extraordinarily strong, or it's clear. I've got a Class A disembodied voice of a young child. It wasn't a young child; it was a demon. I mean, when the voice is louder than mine, yeah, that's an indication you're not dealing with an earthbound spirit. But yeah, and if you want to do that, Tosh, again, this is thehauntedtravelers@gmail.com. I'm more than happy to listen to them for you and give you my opinion. But be careful, because if it is something dark and negative, it's going to want to spend time with you, absorb your energy, screw with you, whatever it takes. Because remember, the darker energy requires the energy to keep on going. So they'll get it from somewhere. They'll get it from somewhere. So just be careful. But if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. So, but thank you. I feel special.
Right so, now. Brian, really quickly, I want to ask you, do you think that some of the paranormal hauntings that we're dealing with, or the energies, the hauntings that we're, walking in as investigators, do you think they could actually be extraterrestrial? Do you think people are haunted, or do you think people share rent, share their flat with extraterrestrials?
I don't necessarily. I would lean more towards the jinn more than extraterrestrials. Extraterrestrials, they come, well, interdimensional extraterrestrials, it depends on their purpose or what they do. Extraterrestrials aren't always very nice. They have a taste for human flesh, and so they will. Yes, they do, and people go missing and end up like mutilated cattle. But I don't think there's certain things in this world that will play the game, and certain things in the world that won't. I don't, when you mentioned demons in relationship to hauntings and extraterrestrials, demons don't play games, and neither do aliens. They have no reason to. They don't have to.
No.
Everything on shows, it's demonic. I'm like, if it's demonic, you're going to freaking know it's demonic real quick.
Oh, yeah. It's something you don't forget. I mean, it is. And I never say that for someone to actually find out and actually have an experience, but when you do have it, it'll caramelize your onion. I guarantee it. It'll make you never forget it.
Yeah, and you'll get faith real quick if you're smart. Yep. I don't think they're ghosts. They have no reason to be ghosts. They come in, they take what they want, they get you or whatever they need, and then they leave.
All right, buddy. Real quick, we're gonna answer a couple more real quick, and then I want you to word vomit all your contact information. All right. So Don asked, "Do you think they live among us?"
Yes, they do. Exist among us.
Okay. And then she said, "Have you heard that there is no such thing as cattle mutilations? It's our own government hiding the fact that they did nuclear testing on the ground. What is your opinion on this?"
No, it is. It's not the government doing it. We have a select few grays. Grays are biological entities. It's like clones. We can create them. There are different types of grays, but the ones we're talking about are the little grays, the worker bees. They're the ones that crash the crafts too, because they got an IQ of about a 40. And every once in a while they leave because they can, and they get thirsty or hungry, and they have an issue, and they have a cattle mutilation. It'll be cattle mutilations, but they love the human flesh as well, and they are eating it. But yeah, they're eating people.
All right, man. We're at the point in the show now. I want you to kind of give out all your information, including your social security card, blood type, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. Vanilla again.
Yeah, vanilla.
If you go, Facebook is the best place to get to me immediately. This way you can hit me on, it's Brian M. Bowden on Facebook, and you can private message me to tell me you saw me on Let's Talk About It. And whatever questions you have, I will answer whatever I can. We have the Bronxville Paranormal Society, the New York State UFO Project right behind us, New York State Sasquatch Organization, and the New York State Dogman Project. So we have websites for all those, but the best way is consolidate. Go to Facebook, and I do have my own website I've been working on, brianbowden.com, where I will be posting more theories and helpful things. And eventually there'll be a form there you can submit and we can contact you or you can contact me.
Wow, that's great. It's good to hear.
You're also on some television shows too, Brian.
Yes, I've done. Actually, the last one was UFO Witness Season 2, Episode 2, and we talked about human mutilations, and I scared the crap out of Miss Melissa Tittle on that, who was great because I don't think she was expecting it, and she kind of you can kind of see her change her demeanor. It was nice, it was good. So hopefully they call me back for Season 3.
There you go.
Yeah, I've been on a couple. Let's go to Discovery Plus and look for this.
Yeah, look for that right there. That's yeah, Katie, what do you got going on before we close out tonight? You got anything going on before we close out? You ready to kick Brian to the curb here?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for coming on, and it's been an absolute pleasure and an honor for you to be here. Thank you. Our audience absolutely loved you. The comments are going wild, so thank you for that. We'll have to have you back for sure.
Sure. I can't thank you guys enough. I appreciate it. It's like an honor to be you watch a show and then you're like, oh, I'm on it. I like it. I'm honored when anybody asks me. They don't have to ask you, and I do appreciate it.
No, not a problem. We're just glad to have you here, buddy. But we will talk to you soon. Hopefully, we'll see you back here in the chat room at some point.
Yes, I definitely. Sundays are a little bit tough right now.
Tell Al I'm pissed off. He never showed.
He never showed?
No.
He had a death in the family, so.
I don't blame Al. Al shows up.
It's his mother-in-law, and it's a death in the family. But I'll just tell him that you're pissed off, just to really, play around with him later. So.
No.
Well, sometimes I remote view. I go to him, and I try to heal his, if there's an issue, and I'll purposely stand there in a remote view, going blue bunny, blue bunny, blue bunny. See if he remembers it in the morning. I just mess him up all the time.
Well, go tell him that when you talk to him again that we gave our condolences as a family.
You got it.
For his loss.
Yep.
Buddy, we thank you very much for everything.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Ciao. Bye.
Bye.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that 90 minutes did go by really fast.
That was so great. I'm so glad that everybody had awesome questions. So much information. You could probably do about 10 shows like that because it's just so much information. And it's it's really hard to answer there's no simple questions, right? So I was really glad that he was able to kind of narrow it down and shorten it for us for 90 minutes, but we'll have to have him back to get more.
Yeah, I did talk to also a buddy of mine, Jeremy Leonard, who's helped us out on the show a couple of times. He just got done finishing up their show 28 Days Haunted on Netflix. And I like to get him on the show because I've got a very burning question. Burning question about the show. Do you know the premise of the show? Have you seen the show
I
at all?
do. I've been watching it.
I've got a real burning question I'm not sure anybody's picked up on yet that's driving me insane. I'm going to talk to you about it right now. So here's the thing, okay? I watched the show. We binge watched it for 2 days, got it done, got it completed. Love the concept. I think it's great. I watched it, and the premise is they have a psychic medium with a couple of investigators or an investigator, right? In Jeremy's case, one investigator, one psychic medium. But every team had a psychic medium out of the three. I watched the energy literally pick a wedge and shove it between the investigators and the people with abilities.
Absolutely.
They're disconnecting the communication cycle that they were pulling up on. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed that.
Yeah, and creating this havoc inside, turmoil inside each team. Absolutely, yes. Yes.
That's exactly.
I don't know if it's because of what we do or we're sensitive to that information, or maybe it's just a coincidence, but absolutely, you could tell that it was kind of putting animosity within the teams. And I would be interested for them to switch.
I would. Different locations would be great. What I noticed about that, though, for just that one quick example, guys, if you haven't seen it, it's one of the few I recommend, but it was just that the investigators were okay with each other pretty much, all the way to the end. But the psychic medium they were with and the investigators were always seemed to be at odds or separated. And that was just, I believe, the energy's way of keeping them from knowing anything.
Yep. Agreed.
So, but anyway, I spewed out my shameless plug for the show. There we go. Expect the cookie in the mail sometime soon. Anyway, guys, we appreciate you coming in to see it. Yeah, you're right, Herbie. Seems like you want to be at odds. Herbie agrees. Guys, we appreciate you coming out. We really do, and we're very thankful for y'all to blow out your questions the way you have. We really appreciate it very much, and we do hope to, guys, we will see you again next week. Until then, take care of yourselves. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.